Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hey everybody, I'm Kieran aka The Laird here, back with another video for you. And today I'm going to be doing something I haven't done for a little while actually, which is a movie review. I haven't done one of these. I think the last one I did was probably the Amiga years, wasn't it? The Bedroom Stabilians one, which was a couple of months ago, at least, yeah. But now we seem to be getting a few more coming out all of a sudden. We've got this one that I'm doing today, Beep, and we've got Viva Amiga, and there's another one as well coming, Button Bashers. That's a way off yet. There's another one that's about to come out as well, and I can't think what it is, but it's gone out of my brain. But there's a few of these. Again, we seem to be going through a little flurry of video game related movies and documentaries again, which is always good to see. And obviously at the moment we've got Assassin's Creed in the cinema as well. So a film based on a game. So I'm wearing my Assassin's Creed hoodie to celebrate that. I saw it and I thought it was very good. So I suggest you all go and see it if you like the Assassin's Creed games, especially. But today, the film we're going to be looking at, as I say, is Beep. This is a documentary about video game music. So I think just to look at the subtitle, a documentary history of game sound. I knew it had quite a long one, and I couldn't think of the exact wording. So this is what it's about, as you can imagine, is music and sound effects in games and chronicling the history of this. And as soon as I heard about this, I was super excited, and I went and grabbed it straight away. And I was very, very excited because I am such a big fan of game music. Obviously, anyone who follows my channel will know I've been doing the Chiptune Challenge series for God knows how long now, several years. I've got lots of uploads of different music, my top 20 tunes, I've got Link's music, 2600 music, all sorts on my channel. So I am a massive, massive fan of video game music in general. I'll quite often sit and listen to video game music on its own without even playing the games. And so yeah, this was right up my street. And I have to say that as soon as the film started, I was a little bit apprehensive about it because it basically starts by saying that video game sound and music was always like the red-headed stepchild. It was never taken seriously, and I didn't really agree with that because back in the day there was musicians who people would go and buy games just because that person worked on the game. I can only assume that maybe they were coming from a more American perspective with that. Because if you think in the UK, especially, I suppose, Commodore 64 owners, if they saw Rob Hubbard's name on a game, they would almost buy it just because Rob Hubbard had worked on it. So I think they underplayed it a little bit at the start. But I do think it was coming from an American perspective where perhaps they didn't have so much focus on music. So then it goes into straight away into the early years of starting to put sound into games, where they weren't even using sound chips, they were using electronic circuits. Then obviously it goes into the very first sound chips, PSG chips, the TIA and the 2600, etc. And this is where it starts to get really interesting. So they go through the evolution of those sound chips, bringing in Yamaha chips, which are obviously the most successful, the SID chip, the Paula in the Amiga, and then it goes into to PC Sound Blaster cards. Now, the first half an hour of the movie, and the movie is about 2 hours long, so it's just under 2 hours. But the first half an hour is really good. Loads of interesting stuff there. As you can see, it's very, very interview based, and there's loads of really, really good interviews. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Chris Hallsbeck is in there, who obviously a lot of people know. Dave Thiel's in there. There's Brad Fuller, That was one of those interesting ones. Brad Fuller from Atari Games. It's some really great stuff about him talking about them getting exclusivity on their first Yamaha FM chips and what he did with stuff like Marble Madness. The Brad Fuller stuff is absolutely brilliant. But I was also quite interested to see that they've got interviews with a lot of Japanese people, and you never ever really see the Japanese people talk. So like they've got example, they talked to the person who did the music for Metroid, which was pretty fascinating to hear the Japanese people speak and their perspective on game music and sounds being quite different in many ways to ours, and how they approached it. So that was quite interesting as well to have people like that in there. But after the first half an hour, unfortunately, it just goes downhill totally. I got so bored to the extent that I almost turned it off. I really didn't want to watch it after the first half an hour because I just kept hoping it was gonna come back round again, and it never did. I mean, there's like an hour and a half of a movie that to me was just so dull, and I'll explain why. And as I say, it's because the first half an hour is all about the evolution of sound chips, chip tunes, and that kind of thing. Then about the half hour mark, it starts talking about PC sound cards, Sound Blaster, the Roland MT, stuff like that. And then after that, it's pretty much just modern game music and modern sound. And seems like they took quite a bit of money off publishers because they show loads and loads and loads of clips of new games going on about the great music, and you can't really call it an evolution of video game sound if an hour and a half of your 2 hour movie is talking about modern games. I mean, if I was thinking about how the film would be structured without watching it, knowing the goal, that the film was trying to achieve, I would have thought that at least half, I would have said more than half, probably complete other way around, an hour and a half of it would have been about the evolution of sound chips, because that's the era that everybody is interested in. Really, chip music has become a really, really big thing. And it does touch on that at the end, because at the end part of the movie they go on about modern chiptune artists. But to be honest, a lot of that is just guys who fiddle with Game Boys, and I don't find that stuff interesting. What they should have been talking about more was how guys like Rob Hubbard and David Whittaker and that are being encouraged to go and do these concerts where they play chiptunes to real orchestras or mix the chiptunes in, and at some of the retro events we're having like mini chiptune festivals and stuff like that. And obviously as well, the rise of people doing their CDs, like Matt Gray's done his CD, Uncle Art did his CD. There's who else did CDs? Chris Hallsbeck's done a CD. Jerome Tell's done a CD. God, there's so many people. There's someone else I'm trying to think of who's actually on this video, and it's really bugging me now because I can't think who that person was who's on it. Okay, so I had to go away there for a little while and try and remember who that person was. And also somebody was banging at my door with a parcel for me, so it's always good to get interrupted in the middle of a video. But the person I was trying to think of was Alistair Brimble, who is on the video there. I've paused it, so that's the person I was trying to think of was Alistair Brimble. So really, I mean, there's not a great deal more left to say. I mean, to sum up, what I've pretty much already said really is that the first half an hour or so of the film is is good. I mean, there's lots of interviews with different chiptune musicians. There's a brief bit about the history of sound chips, although it skips out so many important sound chips. Most notable one probably is the Pokey chip that was found in the Atari 8-bits. I mean, there's no mention of that at all. even though that was the first sound chip to come out that was more than 3 channels, for example. So it's quite an important one. And there's absolutely no mention at all of the Atari ST being used to produce music with the MIDI add-on and stuff. I suppose it's a bit of a spin-off, but still we're talking about creating music with computers, and that should have been in there as well. I mean, that seems quite a big omission to me as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much it really. That overall, I mean, considering the film is what, we just double check, it's 1 hour 52 in total. Considering the length of the film, it's unbelievable that they spend so long talking about modern stuff and so little time talking about the actual history. I mean, it's a real wasted opportunity. This film could have been utterly brilliant. It could have been fantastic. It could have been a kind of Bedrooms to Billions for chip tunes and sound chips. I mean, there was so much potential there, but I feel that they've really wasted it. And to be honest, if you're really into your chip tunes like I am, I wouldn't recommend this film. I don't think it's worth paying the price for to watch it, because you're not really going to get that much out of it. You'd get a lot more information, you'd have a lot more fun, it'd be a lot more pleasure for your ears if you just stuck some old videos on YouTube, or even some of the bits from Bedrooms to Billionaires where they speak to the chiptune artists. I mean, you get more out of them than you would out of this. So yeah, I suggest giving it a miss, in all honesty. Great shame, big missed opportunity, and that's it really. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, give us a like, and let me know what you thought of the film if you've seen it too. And I'll be back with another video for you all very soon. Thanks a lot, bye bye.